Okay, the next part of this video series is the glue up of the tubes, etc. But we need to do a few things first, and what I tend to do is double glue up. And what that means is I use a CA coating to the inside. Now this basically seals any minor fractures or cracks and any gaps within the blanks themselves, and this is another reason why I don't cut off the ends of the blanks. Now I've coated these with gaffer tape again, because every now and then a bit of thin CA gets through the cracks and you don't want it on your hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some thin CA in here into the tube itself, a reasonable amount, give it a good squeeze, and what I'm going to do is hold it at an angle such that it's just coming to the edge of the opening, and I hope you can see this, and basically I'm going to rotate that slowly, and what it's doing is slowly coating the entire inside of the tube, and rock it back and forwards. Try not to get it outside, because then it'll stick to the outside of the gaffer tape, and of course all over your fingers. So what I'm doing, I'm just slowly rocking this back and forth so the CA coats the entire area. It is a ponding layer, so you want to add a reasonable amount of CA. Yes, you use a little bit of money, but such is life. Okay, now that's basically coated the inside. Now what I'm going to do is pour the excess into the next one. And I'm going to use that again, yes, there's still plenty there, to coat the inside of this one. Oops, there you go, just a little bit come out, a bit more. This is my glue up table, so it's covered in goo all over the place. The main thing is not to touch the wet parts. And that's it. Now I'm going to pour out the excess. Yes, it's on my table, but I'm going to get some cloth in a minute to dry that up. And I'll just leave that for an hour to set, and then we'll come back and do a bit more work to it. Okay, the next stage of the exercise is to sand the blanks roughly to size. Now what I've done in the meantime is I've actually cut the long blank off. Remember, we marked the end of the blanks, there's a mark there and a mark there, as approximately where the tubes finish, and what I'm going to do is sand it on the disc sander back to those points. But to save a little bit of bone, I may decide to do a finial later on. I'm going to save this piece and maybe do something with it. So I'm just going to sand these back at this back face to our horizontal line mark. So we switch the disc sander on, a bit noisy. One. The other end that I've already cut, just take a little bit more off. And you'll notice we've got a little bit of goo in there. That'll be the CA. So I'm going to clean that out, ready for the glue up with epoxy. Okay, now we've come to the glue up table again, and what I'm going to use is some clear epoxy. Now I've just bought this from the hardware. It's not the real good stuff, but I find it's a good quality anyway. sets in 30 minutes. And this one is a clear one. You can use the other one because, like I said before, this is a pigmented stuff. But again, I'm just using the crystal clear. And I'll mix it on this plastic sheet I've got here. Now, before we get into it, what I have done is I've cleaned out the inside with a file to make sure the tubes do indeed fit quite okay from both ends, and that's on both of them. If you find there's a lot of CA from the flooding process and it's well and truly stuck, don't be afraid to re-drill it with your drill, but try and do it by hand, not with the actual drill on, and just twist it through, and that'll help clear any leftover bits of CA. Now what I do is I actually seal the ends of my tubes with dental wax. You buy these in boxes of 20 sheets, and so far in the last 3 years I think I've used about 3 or 4 sheets, so they do last a long time. You may go halves, quarters, whatever, with some other pen turners, works well. You can use potato as another way to seal the ends, but I find the acid in the potato starts rusting out the inside of the tube, which is not a good thing when you're selling these pens. And these Croc pens start at about $150 and go up, for me anyway, up to $350. So you don't want rusty bits inside. Anyway, what I'm going to do is just press that tube down, give it a quick turn. Perfect. Sealed without a problem. Same with the thing. I only seal at one end. And that's the pushing end of the tube, the pushing end of the thing. Okay, now we get our epoxy, squirt it on a bit of plastic. And yes, I use a lot, but again, compared to the cost of the blank and the actual pen turning itself, the cost of epoxy or glue is something nothing. Little stirring stick. Use anything you've got in the office, but this is just a scrap bit of ice cream stick actually. But I often use the branches from outside because they've got a nice round surface. But at the moment, since it's pouring rain, that's not going to happen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the blanks and I'm going to coat the inside of the blank. And I want to coat that all the way through. So come in from both ends, spread it around, and make sure you have a coating all the way through on every inch of that blank. So there it is there, and you should be able to see a nice wet look on the inside. Likewise on the other blank. And I do all my glue ups this way. I don't use CA for the final glue up. I've had failures before. There's all sorts of reasons, and yeah, always epoxy, especially on expensive blanks like this. But again, I'm looking down all the time, making sure that I've got a good coating all the way around. Now this is the long blank. Now what I'm going to do is the excess epoxy, I'm just going to roll the tube in that. And again, give a nice coating all over. Should have worn my gloves, such as life. And what I'm going to do is hold it over the plastic because I want the excess to fall out and use it for the next tube. And what I'm going to do is just slowly twisting back and forth and slowly pushing that tube in. Oops. So what I've done is I need to push from the end that's marked as the centre. I forgot. So here we go, pushing in. And then I'm going to use one of these silicone tube caps. Works well, and I'm just going to push that so it's just underneath the surface. You should be able to see that, and that's the perfect amount. On the other end, you've got a nice big goobie of epoxy. There's the leftovers just there. And again, that's for the next piece. So I'll hold it so it's the centre bit again. Again, we roll the tube in that epoxy, get a nice good goobie coating. And again, pushing it in, slowly twisting. What we want to do is we're going to make sure it's coated all the way around the tube and all the way around the blank itself. And again, just inside. That's it there. So we want to match the teeth up as best we can. And again, just dig out the excess. Just makes it easy to remove later on. And there we go. So, oops, he's come out a little bit more. Let's just push him back in again. And we're done. And I'm going to leave that now. That's my glue up for another 24 hours and let that glue go off. Okay, we're back again. The glue's set, and what I'm going to do now is basically sand the blanks down so the brass is just showing. I'm not going to be too worried about being perfectly square at this stage, because I actually square up the blanks using the lathe and a sanding arrangement I've got, which I'll show in a future video. But at this stage, we just want to get it roughly down to size. So we'll switch on the sander. Sorry, it's going to be a bit noisy. And you can see it's about 1/8 of an inch or so. Just keep checking. And it's just starting to show now. And that's probably good enough for me. The other side. So it's just showing now. The next blank. You do actually hear it when it changes tone, when it just touches the brass. There you go, we're done. I'll just turn that off. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of that little bit of wax at the other end. So I'm just going to use a pen to poke it out. There we go, that's the plugs, if you like. And what I'll then do is blow it out, but what I'm going to do is, because I'm actually going to sand the outside of the blanks as well. These blanks tend to kill the sharpness of your chisels, so turning the minimum amount is really what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is, there's the join of the blank, and when I sand this off, I'm going to lose that mark. So what I'm going to do is mark the inside of the blank at that end. And I'll just put a few marks there. You can just see them there. Likewise on this one, here's the join mark, and I'll put in a few texture marks there as well, so we know which end is which. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the blanks and I'm going to just insert the bushes just very quickly, and I'm going to mark around the bush. And this is just to show, oops, Get it in. How much I can actually sand off. Because I do want to turn the last bit of the blank. And then I do the other one. Put those bushes in there. These are the same size blanks at either end. If they weren't, I would also make sure my orientation was correct. So there we go. Now, when I sand these blanks, I'll do it at that angle first, all the way round, and then I'll turn it round and I'll do that end. And that way you'll have a curve. If you try and sand it perfectly parallel to start with, sure as eggs, you'll miss the line on the other side. So let's go start with a taper, and then I'll sand the flat bit in the middle. So let's go. And I want to stay outside that line. I don't want to go all the way. Just to remove the majority of the blank. Right, the other side. And now I'm going to sand the middle part. Keeping an eye on either end to make sure I don't sand that part there. See the teeth starting to come through. I wet that. I'm not quite sure if we should be able to, by the time it turns round around, which is below that line there, we should be able to see it. So I'm not worried about that at the moment. It's looking pretty good. That's good enough for the turning purposes. Now I won't bother doing this on the video. Go ahead and sand this down, and then we're basically ready to turn, which of course will be the next video. Cheers for now.